Welcome everyone to the Mobility 101 Cali course. This course is for you to be able to learn about and understand mobility, how it applies to your training, and why it's so important for you to practice it. So let's start from the ground up. What is mobility? Well, mobility is the ability for our joints and muscles to move through their maximum range with full control. Mobility and flexibility make up the base level of the movement pyramid. On top of mobility and flexibility, we stack strength, and then we stack skill at the top of the pyramid. We start from the base and build the next layer of the pyramid, and so on as we train and develop our body. This helps us to ensure complete all-round movement and is the most recognized way to correct imbalances, prevent injury, and avoid fatigue. To achieve a complete movement practice and training regime, we build up from the base of the pyramid and master each level for each joint in the body individually. Then we can split and vary our practice between the layers for each separate joint, as well and mix them and match the joints we work with in the body. Mobility is a key staple of daily life, not just in training and movement practice. Think about climbing stairs, sitting down and standing up, picking things up off the floor, reaching over, throwing, catching, balancing, and climbing as well, and with a whole host of other activities and movements. All of these movements involve multiple joints and muscles in the body, and mobility is our ability to harness those in the strongest and safest way that we can. We need to keep our joints mobile in order to maintain healthy and free movement, prevent injuries, and keep our bodies healthy and supple. Movement is medicine after all, and this is clinically proven. When we're speaking with members in the onboarding or consultation process, we always want to know what people's hobbies are, what they do for a living, how they work, how they travel, etc., as these types of questions give us a clear picture of how they currently move. And it means we can tailor mobility and rehab work to each specific member. Sat at a desk all day, shoulder, hip, and spinal mobility are going to be key facets to look at. Play a lot of ball-based team sports. Ankle and knee mobility are going to be very important. Getting a lot of headaches? Keeping your neck mobile with a full range of motion and working a lot through the feet are going to help ease that tension. So when we talk about our joints, which joints are we actually talking about here? Well, we work through the ankles, the knees, the hips, the spine, the shoulders, elbows, and wrists. And these make up the fundamental joints in the body. So you may have heard terms like mobility and flexibility bounded around, and as someone new or starting to enter into the movement sphere, it can be hard to orientate yourself and to understand what the terms and terminology might mean. Luckily, we're here to help. So mobility is, put simply, strength in range of motion, and flexibility is the ability of your tissues to stretch to that maximum range of motion. Mobility is the active side, featuring movement, allowing us to work through and improve those ranges gradually. Flexibility is the passive side and involves working through pushing your tissue through its maximum length and depth, so it's more of the stretching side of things. Think of the difference between a split squat and front splits. And there you have it. Mobility in the split squat, lowering down and squeezing back up to the deepest range that we can with strength. And flexibility in the front splits. We lower into that position and hold the stretch. Mobility tends to be more movement-centric and flexibility tends to be more stretch-centric. We can and should train mobility and flexibility, like we train strength in the gym at CaliUnity, for example, by adding more reps, increasing time in holds, increasing the range nice and gradually, working the negative portions of the movements, and by adding weight. This way, we can track and measure our mobility and flexibility. As a general rule, compared to strength training, mobility and flexibility gains take more time and therefore more patience to achieve. Rushing through these ranges without care and deliberation can lead to injury, so just make sure to be extra careful when you're training for mobility and flexibility. Slow and steady is definitely a good mantra to follow here. Future-proofing your body takes time, and often certain movement patterns need undoing and readjusting. So just remember to keep breathing and take it one step at a time. So now we know what the joints are that we're looking to move and improve: the ankles, the knees, the hips, the spine, the shoulders, the elbows, and the wrists. We need to now explore how they move and what to expect as we work towards improving our mobility. The ankle is a hinge joint which hinges inwards, otherwise called inversion, and outwards, called eversion, as well as upwards, dorsiflexion, and plantarflexion, downwards. The knee is also a hinge joint which bends, flexion, and extends, extension. The hip joints are ball and socket joints, one on each side of the hips, connecting the legs to the pelvis, allowing greater movement angles and a more circular range of motion. The pelvis can also be moved into tilt. The hip bones come forward, extending the pelvis and extending the back. That's called anterior pelvic tilt, and can be moved the opposite way to pull the hip bones back, tucking the pelvis and flattening the lower back. And this is called posterior pelvic tilt. The spine is comprised of 5 sections, 3 of which move regularly: the lower back, otherwise known as the lumbar spine, the mid back, the thoracic spine, and the upper back, the cervical spine. There are 33 vertebrae in the spine, and they're all small bones which make it up and allow it to move and flex. The shoulders are also ball and socket joints, made up of 4 smaller joints, making them one of the body's most complex structures. And these joints allow for a huge range of movement, meaning this one gets a little bit more technical, but we'll keep it nice and simple to follow for you. So we have upward rotation or flexion, where we can move the arm upwards from the hips to be overhead. We can then bring the arm back down, which is into extension, to our starting position, but also lift the arm round and backwards from the hip up towards the head into hyperextension. We can raise the arm out from the hip to the side. This is called abduction, and then bring it back down again to the side, which is called adduction. We can bring our arm to shoulder height and move the hand inwards in front of the body, and this is called horizontal adduction. And then to move it back out again, it's called horizontal abduction. From our arm being out at the side, we can bend the elbow 90 degrees and have the arm at shoulder height. Rotating down is called medial or internal rotation, and rotating up is called lateral or external rotation. I know all that seems daunting and it's a lot of things to think about, but if you stand in front of a mirror or watch the videos here in the app and look at the images, you'll kind of get a bit more of an idea of how it goes through. But the fundamental is we want to keep the shoulder nice and mobile through all its ranges of motion. You'll also be fascinated to go through all these and see which areas need a bit more movement and can do with a bit of work. And we as coaches are here to help you to get you the most out of your movement, so we can always tailor programs and movement patterns for you to work through to improve your range of motion there. The elbow is another hinge joint similar to the knee, and it can open and close. So our open position is extension and our closed position is flexion. And lastly, the wrists are also ball and socket joints, but with a twist, literally in this case. They can turn on their axis to allow the palm to face the floor or the sky. And this also allows the wrist to bend in 90 degrees towards more flexion or outwards to extension. And we can push the little finger towards the floor. This is called ulnar deviation. And we can also lift the first finger towards the sky, and this is called radial deviation. Using the CaliUnity app, you can track your mobility anytime, anywhere. Along with the Cali Skills Swirl to track your strength and skills progress, you can also use the mobility tracker to see where you are on your mobility scale for each muscle or joint section from the bottom of the lower body to the top of the upper body, and what you might need to work on in classes or with a coach to increase and improve your mobility. So for our first test, we have our knee to wall dorsiflexion test. For our hip flexor mobility test, we have the couch stretch. For our hamstring mobility, we have different levels of the toe touch. For our adductor mobility, we have the butterfly stretch. For our piriformis mobility, we have the pigeon stretch. For our spinal mobility, we have our cobra positions. For compression mobility, we have the compression lift. For our internal rotation mobility from the shoulders, we have the sleeper. And our external mobility rotation from the shoulders, we have shoulder extension. We then have our overhead shoulder mobility, which comes from the wall angel. And then for the wrists, we have our wrist drills. All of these are showcased in full detail here in the app, including tutorial videos, as well as the screenshots you see on the screen here. But if there's anything you ever want to go through mobility-wise and want to check in with, don't hesitate to get in touch to book a one-to-one, either here in the app or email us hello@caliunity.com to schedule yourself in with us, and we can take you through any and everything mobility-based. Should you do a separate routine for both flexibility and mobility? You can combine both in the same session. Just bear in mind, mobility is more movement-based and flexibility is more stretch-based. Mobility is harder on the strength side, whilst flexibility is more intensive on the stretching side. I would warm up and start with mobility work to prepare you for the flexibility work afterwards. And be prepared to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. That's all part of the process, and it's perfectly natural. Actually encouraged to feel that way. Just be careful when walking that line. Should this be done daily? A mobility and flexibility practice should definitely be done at least 3 times a week. Wherever and whenever you can is my philosophy, especially if you have to sit a lot or have a desk-based job, or you know you don't move around as much as you could do. When is the best time for flexibility and mobility training? Mobility in the morning and flexibility at night? Or does it not really matter? In terms of timing, I would say wait until you've been awake a little while and your body is kind of ready for the day. Blood flow is suitably warmed up and prepared, and I often like to mobilize post a couple of cups of coffee and a fair amount of hydration just to really make the most of that movement. I would also do light warm-up movements to prepare, warm up for say 15 to 20 minutes before you really get stuck in. Can you do calisthenics alongside your mobility work? Absolutely. If anything, mobility and flexibility will massively help your Cali work and skills and gains. Any work through the body with body weight will help you to learn about the body and learn how to focus your mind to muscle engagement, which muscles to connect, and it will help you increase your range in those Cali movements. So yeah, it all goes hand in hand. Do I really need to work on my mobility and flexibility? Absolutely yes, you do. You'll benefit from improved performance in your training due to better flexibility and mobility. You'll be able to perform exercises with a larger range of motion, which helps target muscles more effectively. Also, good mobility helps with better engagement and positioning, which is key to preventing injury. When you have better mobility, it can help reduce your risk or strain during training and everyday activities. So regular mobility and flexibility work can fight posture problems caused by sitting, help to correct imbalances. So for many people, better mobility means less discomfort, and it helps to combat the signs of aging, keeping your joints and muscles healthier for the years to come. Remember, like any other fitness goal, improving mobility and flexibility takes time and consistency. It's not a race, but a journey towards better health and performance. And there it is, your Mobility 101 course. We would love to take you further on your journey to help you learn about your body, learn how to holistically move, build your flexibility, and prepare for the rigors of daily life. If this path is one you would like to explore more, feel free to book in for that one-to-one consultation with us, in person or online. Email us hello@CaliUnity.com or book in here via the app. Also, we would love to hear from you with any feedback and any other general questions about the course, but also about mobility in general. We can't wait to get you more buttery smooth, to help you live longer, and to get you dropping down into some sweet moves on the dance floor. Thanks, guys.